Washington, senior American and Chinese officials met for a third day of trade talks on Saturday, scrambling to make enough progress to allow U.S. President Donald Trump to extend a March 1 tariff deadline and avoid escalating the trade war. The negotiations here, originally slated to end Friday, are now set to run through Sunday, just a few days before U.S. tariffs on $200 billion in Chinese goods will rise to 25% from 10% if no agreement is reached. In a meeting Friday with Trump, Vice Premier Liu He, China's point man on trade talks, said the two sides will redouble their efforts and speed up the consultations in the next stage, according to Chinese state news agency Xinhua. Trump also struck an optimist note. "If I see progress being made, substantial progress being made, it would not be inappropriate to extend that deadline," the president said in a news conference with cabinet officials in Liu before the meeting. "I think there's a very, very good chance that a deal could be made," he said. Trump plans to push back the deadline by about a month and settle the last sticking points in a direct meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in March. An escalation of trade tensions will be avoided as long as the talks here do not break down during the remaining days. The two sides have not revealed details of what they have agreed to so far in this third round of cabinet-level talks since Trump and Xi met in December. But officials said Friday that headway had been made on important issues. These include shrinking America's annual $380 billion trade deficit in goods with China. The Trump administration has demanded a $200 billion reduction in the imbalance in 2 years, and Beijing has proposed measures to boost Chinese imports of U.S. goods by $1 trillion over 6 years. American negotiators have reportedly signed off on numerical targets for individual products including soybeans, liquefied natural gas and semiconductors. The two sides also reached one of the strongest agreements ever on currency, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said. China's handling of the yuan has long been a sore spot for Trump, who vowed during his presidential campaign to brand China a currency manipulator. A softer Chinese currency has blunted the impact of the tariffs imposed last July by the U.S. Mnuchin apparently got Beijing to agree not to guide the yuan lower. Some progress was made on even structural issues where the U.S. and China were believed to be at odds. Washington previously presented Beijing with a list of demands related to such topics as intellectual property protections and access to Chinese markets for services, which the Chinese side broke down into 142 items to be addressed. "We've made a lot of progress on forced technology transfers," U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer said Friday, denying reports to the contrary. Trump has showed he is willing to play every card at his disposal to secure a deal. He suggested Friday he would be willing to consider dropping criminal charges against Huawei Technologies, which was accused last month of trying to steal trade secrets. While the list of issues to tackle has been narrowed down, reaching a full resolution remains difficult. Dealing with the Made in China 2025 Industrial Modernization Initiative is likely to prove especially tricky. Washington sees the plan as a threat to its technological supremacy, and it complains that the government subsidies involved violate World Trade Organization rules. But the subsidies are a central element of the state capitalism underpinning China's vaunted growth model, and, according to a U.S.-China diplomatic source, Beijing refuses to consider ending them. The Chinese government is also leery of reforming state-owned enterprises, which could pose a risk to Communist Party dominance. Enforcement is a stumbling block as well. Washington wants to include a mechanism to verify that China is holding up its end of the agreement and impose tariffs or other penalties if it does not, but this has met with opposition from Beijing.